A very good evening. Thank you for joining us here. You're watching Business at 9. I'm Nivedna Prabhu. Our top focus for the hour. Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways, Nitin Gadkari, emphasized that India needs to reduce its dependence on imported fuels by adopting alternative fuels, including biofuels, hydrogen and electric mobility. And the Union Minister was speaking at the 7th Auto Retail Conclave of FADA in the national capital. In fact, he blamed the petroleum lobby for widespread concerns over the government's push for E20 rollout, which has an 80:20 petroleum ethanol blend. But what exactly did the union minister say? Let's listen in.
Everywhere there are lobbies, there are interests.
Yeah.
And you are also one lobbies are here. We are expecting support from you. So, and some propaganda is in the social media.
Yeah.
It is to be sponsored by some people also. The petroleum lobby is very rich and strong.
All right, talking about this particular event, the auto industry, in fact, is in talks with the government to get clarity on the compensation cess and the issue of bearing the brunt of passing on relief to consumers. Now, FADA President C.S. Vigneshwar says this is a pressing concern that could force dealers to shut shop. In fact, I had the opportunity to be in conversation with him in an exclusive chat. Let's listen into the same.
Dealerships, automotive dealerships are thin margin businesses. We can't afford such high cess to be absorbed by ourselves because sometimes it's nearly 22%. It's just not viable, and also that is going to burn a huge hole in our working capital. Some dealerships might even have to shut shop, and this probably doesn't augur well for an economy where GST optimization has been introduced to, for the bounce back, for it to grow faster. We won't be in a position to take part in it. So we have been writing to the government. We've been speaking to the different government ministries to help us bring something which is fair and where this cess portion can be borne by the government, because we have paid the money to the government. So I think it will happen. We've been speaking with the different government authorities, and I'm sure the government is going to take a logical decision where fairness would be applied.
The point that I want to ask you here, given what you have pointed out, there is a little bit of a challenge here. There is dialogue is what we are inferring with that. But given how you're saying it's going to be a setback, if that ambiguity is not clear, given the timeline as well, how is one navigating this?
We've been speaking with different government ministries about it. We've been talking about this to the finance ministry, the commerce ministry and industries ministry, also to the MORTH and also to the heavy industries ministry. So we really need answers really quickly because customers are holding back the purchase decisions, and we need this ambiguity to be solved really quickly because we need the Bharat to take full advantage of these cuts, and we want to do it before the festive season. If we miss the festive season, we literally miss the bus, and there is an advantage for everyone concerned. Yeah, me as a dealership, as OEMs, as spare parts suppliers, and at dealerships there are 50 lakh people working with us. So I don't want them to miss on their bonuses. I don't want them to miss on any of the shopping which they could do. So it'll be great if the decisions can come quickly, and a fair decision is needed by the automotive industry right now.
All right, from that, but clearly let's move on to more that is developing as far as the auto sector is concerned, because Tamil Nadu Minister for Industries, TRP Raja, shares the state's auto ambitions with ET Now as Hinduja Group signs investment deal worth 7,500 crore with plans to set EV charging hubs and more. Let's listen in.
As far as the investments are concerned, especially on the Hinduja's front, we're very thankful to the group. They've come ahead and they promised to invest about 7,500 crores and have expressed our interest to increase that investment in Tamil Nadu. I've asked them to increase it also in the future, and they've said yes, there are possibilities. They are looking at the EV infrastructure. You know that Tamil Nadu is the EV capital of India. For almost 40-45% of all the four-wheelers manufactured in India, sold sold in India are manufactured in Tamil Nadu. 70% of the two-wheelers sold in India manufactured in Tamil Nadu again. So the ecosystem is extremely ripe, and hence the Hindujas are more than willing to come and set shop in Tamil Nadu. I'm very thankful to them. That said, the BESS is something which we are also very, very interested in. They've also stepped into that.
Keeping with automobiles itself, another very interesting announcement was the BMW team that met the Chief Minister on these trips. Are there expansion plans in the offing?
They've been partners for a long time, and there's been a lot of expansions in this time around also. So we've been very carefully going after existing players also, because we know that this is a marriage between the state and industry, right? You don't want to take your partner for granted, right? You need to give them the attention that they need, and you make sure that they're happy, right? Just like in any marriage. So that's how I approach this one.
All right, moving on from that, let's tell you Piyush Goyal, Minister of Commerce and Industry, has sounded optimistic on the India growth story, said that India's economy is robust and resilient with strong macros and trade is rapidly expanding. Let's listen.
The story of our times are known to all of you. It's full of volatility, full of uncertainty, complex geopolitical situation, ambiguity in the way the world is working with each other. These are called VUCA times. We have an economy which is robust, resilient. We are the fastest growing large economy in the world. Low inflation, strong macroeconomic fundamentals, rapidly expanding international trade, great amount of interest of the world to invest in India. More and more companies, almost at last count 2,500 international large companies coming to India with a presence either through manufacturing or through the service sector or through global capability centers, participating in the India growth story, which, friends, is unparalleled in the history of mankind.
All right, we of course heard what Piyush Goyal had to say, but let's also tell you how Fitch has upgraded India's financial year 26 growth outlook to 6.9% from its earlier forecast of 6.5% at the back of strong domestic demand outlook. Fitch has also cited GST reforms as a key trigger behind the upgrade, as it expects the rate rationalization move to boost consumer spending over the remainder of the current and the next fiscal years.
Yes, Fitch has now upgraded India's forecast for FY26 to 6.9% versus 6.5%. Remember, even Reserve Bank of India has a forecast of 6.5% for the current fiscal year, and that has remained unchanged even in the last monetary policy. Now, after that, Q1 GDP numbers came at 7.8%, which was at least 1 percentage point more than the highest of the expectations, which were around 6.8% earlier. So all in all, what Fitch is saying that with the fears of tariffs now being less, and they are expecting it to be 25% now against 50%, there is a chance that India may grow at 6.9% for the current year, and they see GST reforms modestly boosting the consumer spending for FY26. They have given it as a rationale. As far as the fiscal impact of GST is concerned, they are considering it at 0.2% in their report, and more importantly, they see Reserve Bank of India cutting repo rate by 25 basis point in the current fiscal year, and that is important because Reserve Bank of India has already done a front loading of 50 basis point in last to last policy, and they want to wait and see the effect of it. And more importantly, now the looser financial conditions will feed through investments, and Fitch also believes that domestic demand key driver of growth on consumer spending, and that is the expectation, which is from 22nd of September, whereby the rationalized rates of GST will be applying.
All All right, moving on from that, updates trickling in right after Trump and Modi's show of friendship on social media platforms. Sources say the visit was cancelled, will likely get rescheduled soon. Sumita with more.
We're learning from our sources that the visit of a United States trade team, which was supposed to happen on August 25th, that is likely to get rescheduled soon in the near future. In fact, what we're also learning is that the meeting of trade officials is likely to happen before October. India will continue its stance in protecting sensitive sectors, and that includes fisheries, agri, dairy, and GM crops. And India is hoping to meet the deadline that's been set by the two leaders to finalize the first tranche of the bilateral trade agreement by fall this year. Remember, Donald Trump essentially tweeted stating and suggesting that he hopes to speak with the Prime Minister soon. And he also said for the very first time that negotiations are going on between United States and India. Now, if you see the commentary that's coming from the Indian side in the past few days, it's essentially been around the fact that India and the United States, even though ties between the two countries might have suffered, however, both the sides, they continue to remain engaged. Consultations are going on, and we also saw the 2+2 dialogue and, of course, the defense exercises in Alaska as well. But now Donald Trump coming for the very first time and suggesting that negotiations are currently going on. And after that, the Prime Minister also responded to his tweet. He stated that India and the United States are close partners, close friends and natural partners, reiterating this for the second time now. The Prime Minister also stated that the trade negotiations will pave way for unlocking all the limitless potential of the India-US partnership. And he also suggested that the trade teams are working to ensure that these discussions conclude at the earliest, something that Donald Trump also stated. So definitely Donald Trump was looking for a ramp off from his earlier tirades on attacking India or other officials from the US administration who were attacking. But now talks are moving in the right direction, is the sense that they're getting from sources.
All right. Let's put into perspective how the US Producer Price Index, which measures input costs across a broad array of goods and services, has beaten the street estimates, falling 0.1% for the month of August after a sharp increase in July. So you're looking at those numbers as to what it essentially looked like. This is month on month. But core PPI, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, also was off 0.1%. After being expected to increase 0.3% as well. But to give us a roundup of the same, my colleague Rabinder puts that into perspective. Let's listen to him.
Well, yes, in August, US PPI slipped 0.1% versus the estimate of 0.3% month-on-month basis. While if we talk about on an annually basis, then the estimate was 3.3%, but the actual figure came at 2.6%, and the tobacco products which were impacted by the tariff jumped 2.3% in August. Now, if we look at some of the past trends of US PPI, then in July, where the producer price surged 0.9%, far above the 2.2% estimate, driving annual inflation of up to 3.3%, and in June it was flat, showing no monthly change versus a 0.2% forecast, with the year-on-year inflation easing back to 2.4%. And final demand excluding food and energy fell 0.1% month-on-month basis in August against the expectation of 0.3% rise, and on a yearly basis it increased to 2.8% below the 3.5% estimate. Meanwhile, final demand excluding food, energy and trade services rose 0.3% month-on-month and 2.8% over a year-on-year basis. And the wholesale price fell slightly in August, giving the Fed more room to cut interest at the meeting this month. And Fed meeting feature both a rate decisions and an update on where they see the economy and interest rate ahead in the future. And the stock market futures slightly gained after the PPI release, while treasury yields were slightly negative.
All right, Rabinder, thank you for joining us with that. But let's also put into perspective after what we've seen with the August Producer Price Index data shows Wall Street clearly, because the S&P 500 has hit a new record in trade. Currently, in fact, talking about it, the tech-heavy Nasdaq is also trading in the green. Now that you're looking at those numbers on your screens at the moment of the Dow Jones, for the matter of fact that currently trading levels of 45,514, not looking good because it has opened in red. But when you compare it, like I just said, The Nasdaq has opened in green, in fact, with the current trading levels of 21,963. Now, the blue chip Dow Jones, however, is seeing a tad bit of pressure and is trading with cuts of approximately 0.6%. Beg your pardon, because it's currently trading at 6,543. But when it comes to stocks, Oracle is clearly stealing the spotlight today. It is zooming away in trade and is trading with gains of over 38%. The company's multi-cloud database revenue from Amazon, Google and Microsoft grew at the incredible rate of 1,529% in quarter one. Now, that's essentially what we're looking at in terms of what's happening today and at the moment. But what's happening tomorrow? What are the cues that you need to watch out for? I will not put that into perspective. My colleague Snehi will listen to her.
Well, yes, lots of cues to watch out for. And well, Thursday, so it's going to be the weekly Sensex expiry. All eyes are going to be on that. Globally from US, CPI numbers are going to be very closely watched out for. Initial jobless claims, federal budget balance are also going to be some important macroeconomic indicators to watch out for. From Eurozone, all eyes are going to be on the ECB rate decision, post which you will also have the ECB President Christine Lagarde, who will be holding a press conference. So important commentary could be her. We could see some rate momentum coming in. So very important event to watch out for. And from Japan, the macroeconomic indicator to be watched out for is going to be the PPI. Now, in terms of global earnings, all eyes are going to be on Adobe. But if you shift focus back home, lots of stocks are going to be in focus on the back of corporate action and board meetings. Let's talk about Infosys. The stock is going to be in focus because the board of Infosys is going to be mulling their share buyback. Remember, the stock has been abuzz ever since the announcement, so that outcome on that front is going to be out, and that's going to be an important announcement to track. Patanjali Foods will be trading ex-bonus in the ratio 2:1, so watch out for that as well. Blue Jet Healthcare OFS, their offer for sales will be opening for retail investors, so watch out for that. A lot of stocks will be trading ex-dividend, the likes of Century Plyboards, Capri Global, Gulshan Polyols, Ircon International, Somani Ceramics, as well as Subros, and it's going to be the last day to buy a lot of stocks if you wish to be eligible for their interim dividend record date. And these stocks are Mrs. Bector's, Kaplan Point, Cochin Shipyard, Garden Reach Shipbuilders, Kajaria Ceramics, KPI Green, Mastec, RHI Magnesita, Talbros, as well as a whole host of other stocks. In terms of annual general meetings or AGMs, watch out for CESC, IEX, Clean Science and Tech, Keynes Techs, as well as Jyoti Labs. Lock-in period will be opening for the recently listed JSW Cement. A 3% equity lock-in or 3% equity will be coming out of lock-in for this stock. So watch out for any volatility here. And in terms of other events, you'll also have OPEC that's going to be releasing its monthly oil market report. So very important cues to watch out for, important triggers. So watch out for all of these cues very closely.
All right, Snehi, thank you for joining us with that. But let's put the spotlight on the market, with the street posted healthy gains advancing for the 6th consecutive session. But Nifty's resistance continued around 25,000. Now, broader markets outperformed for the 4th consecutive session, but the IT stocks also registered strong run for the second day straight, while the PSPs in fact boosted the banking index. Now, barring the auto sector, other key sectoral indices ended the day in green. But talking about what else is happening as far as the overall story is concerned, let's talk a little bit about mutual fund inflows for the month of August, because they're more than half, coming down to around 52,400 crore. This is versus the 1.70 lakh crore which was last month. Now, monthly SIP figures are at near record levels and stays about the rupees 28,000 mark for the second straight month. In fact, you're looking at those key details on your screens. But large cap funds inflows were up 33% month on month, while flexi cap funds inflows also remain strong for the second straight month. My colleague Sharad Dubey with details. Listening.
The August Stampede data has been strong when it comes to retail participation, as the SIP levels are still near the record levels, and for the second straight month going past the 28,000 crore mark. But there are some mixed trends which we are getting to know. Except dividend yield, most of the equity fund schemes saw positive inflows coming in, and the large cap funds itself, we saw the inflows jumping as high as 33% on a month-on-month basis. The negative surprises coming in is for the small cap funds, where the inflows are down 23% on a month-on-month basis, as we saw a lot of volatility in the market and flight to safety for mid caps and large caps. Sectoral funds over here, there was almost a 60% downtake of a month-on-month, coming down to less than 3,900 crores of inflows, while flexi cap was the important choice for the fund managers, as we saw For the second straight month, 7,000 crore plus is coming in this category. Equity inflows, they have fallen after record high numbers we've seen in last month itself, where it went past the 42,000 crore mark. But still it is stable at 34,000 odd crore rupees. Also interestingly, the overall flows, if you look at it, that has actually come down, and this is because of the outflows coming in the liquid fund segment as well. Net, the equity AUM and the total AUM still near the record high levels. But the NFOs, the last quarter, the numbers were very huge. Roughly, you could say 30,000 odd crores were there via NFOs. But this time, only 2,900 crores worth of NFOs and inflows were recorded. So NFOs, small cap and thematic segment did a month-on-month a big decrease in their flows. But overall, the SIP and the resilience of the retail investor still remains intact, with more than 28,000 crores monthly flows coming for the month of August.
All right, Sharad, thank you for joining us with that. Let's put the perspective now on what is really transpiring in Nepal, because Nepal's former Chief Justice Sushila Karki, Kathmandu Mayor Balendra Shah and former Electricity Board Kulman Gishing are among the names under consideration by the protesting Gen Z group to lead an interim government in Nepal. However, as per reports, Karki has emerged as the front runner, in fact, to be the country's leader. Remember, this comes the day after how Nepal clearly plunged into serious political crisis. Some of these visuals of how it really looked on ground zero, which of course led to KP Sharma Oli resigning in the face of the massive student-led protest for a second straight day. Now, what we're given to understand is that this has prompted the Nepal army to take over the law and order situation. There is no government in place, remember, in the country for the past 24 hours. But we here at Times Network have been reporting from ground zero. Take a look at this report that was filed earlier by Saket Kumar.
नेपाल में तख्ता पलट के बाद आज हालात शांत है। हालांकि पूरे इलाके में कर्फ्यू अभी भी लगा हुआ है। आप देखिए, बीरगंज में मैं मौजूद हूं और यहां पर सड़कें अभी भी सुनसान है, कोई आता जाता नहीं है, क्योंकि यहां पर सेना ने कमान अपने हाथ में रख ली है और ऐसे में लोगों से अपील किया जा रहा है कि वो घरों में रहे, घर से बाहर न निकले। तमाम जो बाजार है वो बंद है। कर्फ्यू की जो अवधि है वो कल सुबह 6 बजे तक की रखी गई है। उसके बाद फिर एक बार विचार किया जाएगा कि ये कर्फ्यू कंटिन्यू रखना है या नहीं। लेकिन फिलहाल जो स्थिति है वो यही है कि हालात जो है वो कंट्रोल में जरूर है। आज सड़कों पर उस तरह से उपद्रव नहीं है, प्रदर्शनकारी नहीं पहुंच रहे हैं, लेकिन कर्फ्यू के हालात है, दुकानें बंद है, बाजार बंद है और लोगों से घर में रहने की अपील की जा रही है, क्योंकि जो राजनीतिक अस्थिरता यहाँ पैदा हुई है, जब तक वो शांत नहीं होगा तब तक स्थिति इसी तरह से बनी रहेगी।
All right, and before we wrap up Business at 9, let's get you talking about the business that really matters, the business of money. Because there's a big shake-up on the global rich list. Larry Ellison has become the world's richest person for the first time, ending, guess who? Elon Musk's nearly year-long reign in the top spot. In fact, the Oracle Chief Technology Officer and Chairman now has a net worth of $393 billion. Yes, you heard that right. And on that note, that's all I have for you on this edition of Business at 9. Thank you very much for joining my team and I on this edition. Good night.